Happy day, everyone. I am so excited that we are back for another episode of Pepper's Pages, and I really hope that your holiday was even better than you expected it to be. I thought that for this video, with it being the end of the new year and everything's calmed down finally, it would be a good chance to kind of go over what I read in 2021 and break it up into different pieces and decide what I liked best and what I didn't. Today, I won't be diving way too deep into the books that I bring up just because most of them already have videos on them, and this video is already going to be long enough with the 3 parts that I have planned. So if you haven't already done it, go don those lovely onesies that you got as gifts, fix you a hot cup of cocoa, and let's dive in. In the beginning of 2021, I had set a goal for myself to read at least 40 books and ended up meeting that goal halfway through the year, which was a complete surprise to myself. And so by the end of the year, I hit 80 and surpassed everything that I even could have imagined for myself to do. So we're going to be talking about at least half of those books today. So to start off this monstrous list, we're going to be going over the 20 books that I would place on the honorable mentions. These are books that I really enjoyed but didn't quite make it to my top favorite list. So bear with me through this because it is going to be fast and furious. I'm really just going to be reading off the titles, the authors, and the descriptions because I do want to get into these books a little deeper in other videos. The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home is by Jeffrey Cranor and Joseph Fink, who also created the Welcome to Night Vale podcasts and other books under that name. This is a part ghost story, part pirate tale that follows the life of the faceless old woman as she becomes one of the most fearsome to sail the seas and takes vengeance against those who have betrayed her. Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood follows the life of Offred as she traverses from the normalcy of our world into the unknown of a new civilization, one that enslaves its women based on their ability to bear children. Face of Fear by Dean Koontz, who also wrote this under the pen name of Brian Coffey. Revered mountain climber turned clairvoyant, Graham Harris finds himself locked in a high-rise building and must put his long unused skills to use as he desperately attempts to outrun a wanted killer known as the Butcher. Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. Amira is a college student who is just trying to get along and pass her classes. After being accused of kidnapping the child she nannies, she finds her life spiraling as she struggles against racial issues, a drama-fueled boss, and a new romantic interest. House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. Since the strange disappearance and equally perplexing return of the Hollow sisters, stories have clung to their name despite the attempts made to live a normal life. When the eldest of the 3 disappears again, Iris and Vivi must hunt down the place they were taken to and brave the strange realities they have been blind to for so long. With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Emily, a high school student and teen mother, has dreamt of becoming a chef but always felt it was too far out of reach. When the opportunity to prove herself finally arises, she must push herself further than she's ever imagined in order to achieve her biggest aspiration. 2 Old Men and a Baby, or How Hendrik and Everett Got Themselves into a Jam, by Hendrik Groen. While on a bike ride, Everett finds himself at an elementary school buzzing with people and decides to use the restroom. Inside, he is faced with a carriage holding an infant with no one around to care for it. In a moment of lapsed judgment, he decides to take it home as a joke against his best friend Hendrik, who does everything in his power to correct what has been done. Wilder Girls by Rory Powers. A year and a half after the Talks has taken over Raxter's School for Girls, things begin to fall apart for those still surviving. Hetty and her friends fight for food, warmth, and their lives as they wait for a cure to their mutating illnesses. When her best friend Byatt goes missing after a flare-up, Hetty and Reese work together to find her. Their end goal is to escape altogether. The only thing stopping them? The fact that they're stranded on a secluded island miles from the mainland. Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. Jake Livingston has been a medium his entire life, and it doesn't seem that age will make it any easier. Every day he feels more and more isolated because of his sexuality and race, pushing him further into loneliness. Now that Sawyer, a vengeful spirit, is after him, Jake must find the confidence and gain connection to mind and body before he loses himself indefinitely. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. When the body of a well-known boy is found, people in town begin pointing fingers at the marsh girl, Kaya Clark. This assumption is made solely by the fact that she grew up alone in the swamps, abandoned by her entire family and left to her own devices, hardly anyone ever bothering to try and help. This story follows her life leading up to her trial in court and the outcome that follows. True Indie, Life and Death in Filmmaking by Coscarelli. This is a fun and lighthearted account of the life of filmmaker Don Coscarelli. It covers the early inspirations that led him to the movie industry, as well as the experience he received working on movies such as Beastmaster, John Dies at the End, and most notably, Phantasm. The first two Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. Frodo Baggins has lived a very comfortable life in the Shire. The worst problem he and his uncle Bilbo face are the annoying relatives trying to take ownership of their home. When Bilbo unexpectedly leaves the Shire without saying goodbye, Frodo finds himself set out on a dangerous journey to destroy the One Ring before it can bring desolation to the world around him. Hidden Bodies by Caroline Kepnes. Joel Goldberg is at it again. This is the second installment of the You franchise, in which Joe finally finds someone just as insane as he is. When he starts to believe he's finally happy, his past begins to catch up with him despite moving across the country to start fresh. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Reporter Camille Preaker has suffered throughout most of her life at the hands of not only her mother and friends, but most importantly, herself. After a stay in the mental health institution, she returns to the field only to be sent back to her hometown to cover the murder of a local girl. During this investigation, she slips back into old and painful habits, is again manipulated by her mother, and makes all of the wrong decisions. Dead Ringers by Christopher Golden. After an awkward encounter with her ex-husband, Tess Delvin begins to realize that the lives of those she cares about most are in terrible danger. With friends at her side, the group digs deeper into the sudden appearance of doppelgangers attempting to replace them, none knowing what true horrors are after them. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. When a team of male scientists goes missing within the perimeter of a strange phenomenon completely protected by the government, another is sent out composed mainly of female researchers in order to find out exactly what happened to the multitude of other groups that never returned. The terror within is unimaginable for those experiencing it, and none find solace in the things that they will discover. The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. Reagan MacNeil is your average 12-year-old girl who enjoys painting, playing with dolls, and communing with the dead via Ouija boards. This book follows the slow and agonizing descent into madness as her mind and body are overcome by an evil entity. John Dies at the End by David Wong. John and David are best friends and have been for many, many years. They're your typical guy pals, drinking beer, going to work, and keeping up with each other. That is, until they are introduced to a new drug known as soy sauce. After this experience, they spend their time hunting the supernatural, cleansing houses haunted by meat monsters, and saving the world from complete destruction. And spoilers, John dies. Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno-Garcia. After receiving a concerning letter from her cousin, Naomi finds herself ripped from social life in Mexico City and thrust into a lonesome, controlling, and hostile situation. The truth of it all being far worse than she could ever imagine. The Hollow Place by T. Kingfisher. Kara, recent divorcee, moves into her uncle's Wonder Museum of Oddities to help care for it. Soon after, she and Simon, the barista from downstairs, discover a hole into another horrifying dimension. Together, they must close the portal between worlds before the Willows can escape into our world and conquer it for themselves.